My Grandmother, told by Renee Edwards. Hello, my name is Renee. It's an R in the back of the hand, name sign is R. Okay. I'm going to tell you a story about myself long ago when I was growing up. What did I do? Oral, voicing, ASL, what I do. I'm going to tell you a story, okay? Okay. What happened is I changed from C to ASL many times better, okay? Okay. My story happened at my grandma's. She's from a different country. She was a tall, big woman. She chewed tobacco and she spit it. I'm going to tell you, it's funny. I was little and I went to a special school for voicing. Okay. I went to school and I studied and I was learning how to lip read and back and forth and back and forth. And when I went home, my mom told me to stay at my grandmother's house. My mother needed to drive to my other deaf sister. So while she did that, I stayed at my grandmother's house. We had a really hard time communicating. She didn't understand really how to sign, or she didn't understand my voicing. So she'd ask me what I wanted to eat for lunch, and I'd say hamburger, French fries. She wouldn't understand me. So she brought me a paper, and I drew a hamburger, and you know, when I finished that, I drew French fries, and I showed it to her. My grandmother saw one. She was like, "Oh, a hamburger and French fries, that's what you want to eat, okay." So she understands communication when I draw. I show it to her, and she'd cook it, and she's like, "That's cool, you know, it's drawing." You know, I wanted chicken, I'd draw a chicken and show it to her, and she'd make chicken. And so all these different things for different foods. So she'd make fried green beans and burgers and okay. So my large grandmother lived there in her house. And I'd watch this grandmother. She had this long hair. And she'd always brush it and pull it back into a really spiral bun. And I'd walk around and be like, she'd do it every day. I'd watch. And what happened is when she passed away, I went to the funeral. After the funeral was finished, went home. The funeral home, and it was at her house. And, you know, she looked beautiful. Beautiful large grandmother. She was just laying there. In a coffin. My whole family was there. They were all telling her how beautiful and peaceful she looked sleeping, and I didn't understand that she was dead. I thought she was sleeping. You know, she was very calm. And I was waiting and waiting for her to wake up, and all these people were looking at her, and I'm waiting for her to wake up, and nothing's happening. And I'm like, "Come on, Grandma, wake up, wake up. I want you to wake up. What's going on?" Nothing. She's just calm, sleeping. So I was walking around and waiting for her. Then we went to visit my grandmother's house, and I was searching, "Where's my grandmother? Where's my grandmother?" I went to her room. She wasn't in there. "Where's my grandmother? Where's my grandmother?" Grandma. Grandma, I was doing it vocally. "Where's Grandma?" Everybody just kept pointing up. I was looking up, and I'm like, okay, it's dirty, but I don't understand. She's up there. So I'm looking up, and later, I was near my grandmother's house, and I'm searching, where's Grandma? Where's Grandma? Where's Grandma? Didn't understand that she was dead. People just said that she was up. This happened again and again, and one time my friend came over, and when she went home, somebody hit a dog, and my mom took it. We were all crying, and it was dead, and she took it and buried it, put it in the ground, filled it over, covered it with dirt. She buried it. She said it went to heaven. It was sleeping and it went to heaven. It had wings and it was an angel. I thought maybe my grandma went to heaven. So I finally understood that a little bit better, but I didn't quite understand up. Was dead, just like my grandmother. So I went to church, and I'm looking at the pictures. There was no interpreter or anything for me. I didn't really understand, so I'm looking at the pictures, all biblical pictures, and I'm looking around, and I saw a picture, and it had angels and a staircase. And I thought maybe that's what they meant when they said my grandmother went up. So I asked my mom, you mean grandmother's dead? She went to heaven. She was like, yes, a long time ago she died and went to heaven. I was like, oh, now I understand, and I started crying. That means she's dead and went to heaven. My grandmother's dead. That's how we communicated, pictures. So I was growing up, and it's funny. Grew up on a farm with the butchered pigs and all that stuff. They'd cut off the heads, and I'd watch, and again, chickens, they were running, and they'd catch them and pull their heads off, and it was so gross. I couldn't even watch. They butchered them. And I'd grow up there, and, my grandmother, she grew up in another place, and it was really different. My grandmother is different. Now I'm grown up, and my mom doesn't know how to communicate. So I have a black box, and I draw a log and people sitting on it. Someone asked, hey, six fish, trying to communicate, and means doo-doo. They were laughing, it was funny. Death and friends, and why were they all school? Oral, vocal, just don't know how to do that. Home, signs, and ideas, and funny, comic, dream. You want friends? No, no, no. It's the opposite. They want understanding. All the deaf people, kids, communicate. Home sign and many different forms of communication. They all mean that hearing parents, and then it's different. Learning, communicating. I was bored at school growing up with all the different lip reading and vocalizing and the other classes. You ready to start? Okay, okay. So different people, and long breathing, stop, long. It's funny. Breathing and vocalizing, lip reading. It's funny. But it's just, I don't know how to, old woman on the board. Check. So I was drawing it. On chalk. That's the doctor. Okay. Stick in my mouth, and I was like choking. Okay. Many different times this happens, and I'm trying to lip read and schools. I was learning to voice, lip read, go to lip reading school, and where's fun? It got better and better. So I was lip reading and growing when I was growing up, and maybe people understand. I didn't want to quit, but I didn't understand why I wasn't getting it. Many different teachers, and they were all like, no, that's not quite right. I went camping with deaf people. And funny old tents and many deaf people chatting, and I'm looking around and they're all chatting, and I just, hey.